Okay, because you're doing a lot of work in groups coming up, I thought it'd be good to have a bit of introduction about working in groups and just to re-clarify some of the things about group work. All right, so groups go through different stages, and this is actually management theory, so this is university level stuff, but I think you guys can handle it. So different groups go through different stages, and these are kind of important because they actually establish what we call the normal parameters of operation, or the social norms. So when we form a group, which is what I've done with you guys already know each other, so this is less important. But when we form a group, we have to work out how to get to know each other, what do people like, what people don't like, and things like that. So this is the forming stage here. This often leads to what's called the storming stage, and this is when different ideas come up in contest with other ideas, and this is where it can get a little bit difficult because you're trying to establish ground rules of how you operate. So you still don't quite know how you all operate, and so that's when you can sometimes have a few arguments about things, and it's normal. It's not abnormal. It is completely expected, and it does happen. But what happens is that you eventually move from that stage into what we call normal ways of operating. And that means good communication, good sharing of ideas and things like that. Then we have performing, and for you guys that is literally performing. You guys are going to stand up in groups in front of the class and perform for other people. So that's when you perform. And adjourning is just a fancy way of saying ending or taking a break. And so then you guys are actually going to take a break as the group you're in. What I wanted you guys to have an idea about is that you will go through these different stages, and that's all okay. What's really important is how you move between these three, because that's how you lead to successful performing. You cannot spend too long bickering and arguing with each other. You need to work out rules of how to operate with each other to make it work better. So let's talk about how we do that. I've lifted this from the Centre for Creative Leadership, but there are all sorts of ways of different listening skills, and you may have heard of the term active listening. But basically when we're moving between storming and norming, i.e. when we're moving from getting to know each other and how we all work to how we actually will work, we have to do some certain things, and that means actually listening to other people. All right. Now, quite often, this first one here, when we say pay attention, quite often when somebody's talking, we're not actually listening to them at all. We're thinking about what we're going to say next. The really important thing you can do when you're listening to somebody is actually stop all your thoughts and listen completely to what they are saying. Don't think about what you're going to say next. Think about what they're saying. This next one, withhold judgment. Sometimes people will say something like, I've got this idea, and you'll instantly go, that's stupid. Well, withhold that. That means don't instantly think that, or think that, but then don't say that. Wait for them to get to the end of their idea. Wait for them to explain their position to you. All right? And then this next one, reflect. That means you need to ask them questions about their idea. You don't just sit there and go, that's a stupid idea. You think to yourself, that's a stupid idea, but then you reflect on their idea and then you ask them questions. And then this leads to clarification. All right? So you think about it, you ask all your questions. What does that actually mean? This seems like a stupid idea, but look, maybe it's not. Maybe I haven't understood it properly. And so this is where we use things like, have I understood this properly? Are you suggesting this? And what we're doing is we're saying back to people what they've said to us. And by doing that, we give them the opportunity to say, oh, no, that's not what I said. Because when we communicate, one of the biggest problems is that we'll say something, but what's been heard has not been what we've said. So we've got to go back and say, do you understand? Yes or no? Okay, what have you understood? All right, explain to me what you think you're doing, or explain to me what you think the idea is. All right, this is his clarification. And then we're summarizing is exactly what I just shared says, well, it's about, this is what I think you've said to me, is that correct? All right, and we get that down. And sharing means that you're then able to say to somebody, look, I appreciate what you say, and I've heard your idea. I think there are some opportunities to improve. You never say, your idea is stupid. You say, I think there's a place that we can improve. I think there's an area that may not work very well, and I think there are other options. And this is where we share these ideas. Okay, so you take someone's idea and you share it back to them, but you add to it. So in your assignment, I don't want to hear you guys being mean to each other. I don't want to hear you guys bickering. I want to hear you guys listening actively to each other, seeking clarification, summarising back to people, actually thinking about what people have said instead of just launching into whatever your idea is. I actually want you to reflect on what they've said and actually say to people, I need some time to think about this, and take that time. All right? Because then through this is where we get to that really good performing stage of groups. This is the last thing about being in a group, is you've got to pull your weight. You'll see here, this is obviously a tug of rope, and we've got two people at the beginning pulling really hard, then this person's pulling a lot, this person's not pulling much at all, this person's just having a look, this person's given up, this person's having a yawn, and this person's gone off and got themselves a drink. So you need to pull your weight in your group. That means if you've been asked to do something, you actually need to step up and do it. Or if you can't because something's gone wrong, you need to tell your group immediately that you can't do it so that they can work out how to do it for you or with you. All right, so being in a group actually means participating and doing your share of the work. This is really important for group work. It's really important in the workplace as well. All right, good luck with your groups.